Okay, welcome everyone to the Trauma in the Waters, Boating Injuries and Safety. Today, our guest is David Summers and Carter Biss. I'm just going to go ahead and read their bios for you really quickly. And David has dedicated his nursing career to saving lives and preventing injuries. Mr. Summers is the Trauma Nurse Outreach Coordinator for the Trauma Agency of the Healthcare District of Palm Beach County, which funds and oversees the quality of the county's life-saving trauma systems, as well as owns, pilots, and maintains two Trauma Hawk air ambulances. Mr. Summers is a certified flight registered nurse who works closely with local emergency medical services, community hospitals, and the two level one trauma centers in Palm Beach County. So just give Mr. Summers some love in the chat as we welcome him on screen. Next up is Mr. Carter Biss, moved to Florida from Colorado 8 years ago to pursue marine biology. Carter graduated from college in 2017 and began working at the Loggerhead Marine Life Center. He went out snorkeling and unfortunately was severely injured by a boat propeller. Since Carter was injured, he has fought to bring change to boating laws. So thank you so much for joining us, guys. Our presenters will be taking it over from here.
Well, Natasha, thank you very much. I'm going to share screen, but first we're going to be talking about a variety of things, and I'm going to talk about the challenges on the water, whether it's Lake Okeechobee, the canals, or the oceans, or the intracoastal, give you some statistics, give you some crashes, give you some trauma data from our trauma registry, and also share with you what can be done in your area to try to make our waterways safer. And then I'll hand the torch over to Carter, and he's going to give you a little bit more about his story, but more importantly about what he's doing, his goals, and his direction that he's going now. So let me try to share this puppy. If you have any questions, do the chat room when I'm doing the presentation. I can't see anything but my presentation. So Carter, can you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Beautiful. All right. Again, I'm David Summers. I'm a nurse and a paramedic. This is my 40th year being a nurse. I'm not sure how that happened, but stuff happens. Like Natasha said, I'm with the trauma agency. Prior to the trauma agency, I did 33 years at the Level 1 Trauma Center here in West Palm Beach, St. Mary's, 30 of those years doing trauma recess and trauma administration and outreach. So just to jump right in, I got a lot of information from FWC, the Fish and Wildlife Commission, Conservation Commission, and basically looking at some of their reports and speaking with them. We have 10 counties, the top 10 counties of injuries, of issues on the water. Monroe County and the Keys is the first, Miami-Dade is second, and Palm Beach County is third. Yes, we like to always be on top. Our friends to the south of where I'm at in Broward County, they're actually number 6. Lee County, Fort Myers, and St. Petersburg, Pinellas County are in between the two of us. So, but if you look at the numbers, we have a 1, a 2, a 6, and a 3 just in a 4-county area. So we're all top dogs, which is not something to be proud of. Specifically looking at Palm Beach County first. There's about 65 incidences. They call it accidents, but I never use the word accident, but incidences with known locations that were reported to FWC in 2019. Of course, Coast Guard might interact in some, local police might interact with some, and if FWC doesn't get a report or touch it, it doesn't make it into this report. What I'm trying to show here is you can look at clusters where you have ocean access and the intracoastal areas for the Jupiter Inlet, the Palm Beach Inlet, Boca, Boynton. We have a lot of clusters. We have a lot of issues. The little red dot that you see is one fatal that we've had, but we've had 39 accidents without injuries and 25 accidents with injuries just in Palm Beach County in 2019. Looking at the different vessels, open motorboat leads the way. Right behind that is a motorboat with a cabin. Personal watercraft, which is like a jet ski. I'm going to go to the third slide. Let me know if you can see the third slide.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to do it this way instead
Okay.
of doing it as a slideshow, because it must take it into a different program. All right.
Okay.
So here's your map, 1 to 10. Monroe, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties are in the top, almost the top 6, which again, it's not a good thing. Here's the map of Palm Beach County I was talking about, and you can see the clusters. I think you can probably see my mouse, correct?
Yes.
All right, so the clusters here: Jupiter Inlet, Palm Beach Inlet, you got Boynton right here, and Boca's Inlet down to the south there. These are 2019 numbers. Again, about 65 instances logged with FWC. That does not probably encompass every incident that's happened, especially if it's off the coast and FWC didn't get there, but the U.S. Coast Guard or PBSO got there. So when you're looking at numbers, they're overall, you're going to be really looking at general numbers. We have type of vessels, open motorboats, 38. We have cabin-related motorboats are just behind that, and personal watercrafts or jet skis is there. There is one airboat on the clicker there, and you can see the sizes of the vessels. The majority, there's a lot of vessels, 41 to 65 feet, that had some incidences, which I was a bit surprised at. I would thought it would have been the smaller open fishermen's 26 foot and below, but I was a little surprised. When you're looking at primary cause of the incident itself, again, I don't like the word accidents. The biggest hitter, almost twice everything else. The next one next to it is no proper lookout. Basically, distracted driving on the water caused 20 of the incidences. Behind that is operator inexperience, and then the good old speed just behind that. So these are causes of the accident that FWC did their investigation, and that's what they tagged it with. Primary type of vehicle is collision with another vessel. Second one's going to be collision with a fixed object like a dock or a piling or a channel marker, things like that. And the third one's going to be they ran aground, causing injury to their boat members. When you're looking at Broward County, this is 2019 numbers again. You can see they didn't have as many as Palm Beach County. Let's see, 17, 19, 29, 30 instead of our 65, which is just amazing. So they must be better drivers down there in Broward County, is what I'm assuming. But you do have some clusters about their inlets. I don't know their waters as well, but you do see they do have the influence of the Everglades. So there are some boating accidents, boating incidences out here to the west. Again, type of vessel, cabin motorboat is number 1, and 27 to 65 foot commands the largest. And what I found interesting is that there were 6 vessels that had injuries that were greater than 65. So that's main primary cause of the crash is going to be distracted driving of the boat, operator inexperience, and excessive speed. So that sort of should play something in your mind about, well, how can I fix that? Primary cause, collision with another vessel, fixed object, and vessel weight damage is third. So when you're looking at jet skis or personal watercrafts, they're a lot of fun. I've done them myself. But when you're on it and you want to jump a wake and pull a hard left or a hard right, you have to look over your shoulder. And we can see behaviors on jet skis. They're like the crotch rockets of motorcycles. Fast, a lot of fun. They can do 50, 60 miles an hour on some. And me as a trauma nurse in my past, I've taken care of numerous amount of jet skiers who struck something. And what they've struck a lot of times is the dock. Inexperienced jet skiers don't realize, your natural instinct is if you're in a car coming up to a dock or a wall, you would hit the brakes, take your foot off the gas and hit the brakes. Jet skis don't have brakes. The only way they turn is that you give it power for thrust because it's all thrust driven. So they're coming up to the dock too fast. They take their hand off of the accelerator, and now they have no steering capabilities. They continue on. And I've taken care of pediatric 13, 14, 15-year-old kids that have had severe traumatic brain injuries because just not getting it. Airboats, they're amazing and a lot of fun. The good thing is we don't really see a whole lot of incidences with airboats. The drivers in the commercial vehicles are extremely experienced. There's a bunch of them out there, but not a whole lot out there. So you don't have a lot of weekend warriors just driving an airboat. They're usually very seasoned. They do have issues though. Hitting another vessel. Boat versus, here's a sailboat. I'm not sure where I scanned this picture from. Full disclosure, I am a professional photographer. Some of the photos in here are mine. Others were borrowed from the internet, and copyright wise, it's okay because I'm not making a profit to do the presentation, so we're good. But this one here, that doesn't look very good, but the people are still in the boat, which I thought was pretty amazing. What I would want you to do, because doing videos in a virtual platform is usually riddled with challenges in my experience. But if you want to hop onto YouTube after the presentations today and go to Boat Collision, Oregon, you'll see that we have two fishermen and one fisherwoman on this boat. Looks like they probably had a GoPro mounted on there for when they catch their fish. This cabin cruiser was going full throttle. The one guy stood up on the back by the orange life jacket and was waving him down with his hat. The boat kept coming and coming and coming, and then finally ran over the boat. Unfortunately, took out the camera too, but they were able to get the footage. So that's his feet over the side of the vessel there, and a potential just horrible situation because somebody was probably distracted, full throttle. The nose of the vessel is elevated, so he can't really have good visualization. He owns that one. That's his bad. But it's pretty sombering. So again, Boat Collision, Oregon will take you to that footage. This was over in Sarasota. This was the boat of a state senator that he was not driving, but he had some family driving it. But boats do hit docks and have some challenges there. This one actually was Broward County, December 2019, brand new boat. This was off the media, and he had 4 people on board. He was one of 4. 2 of the passengers were injured and I'm sure ended up at a trauma center, but I'm not sure the outcome, but I'm sure the outcome, just from the descriptions that I read, were favorable. But he hit the jetty at a high rate of speed, according to the media reports. So I'm cautious on giving any specific details about any of this stuff because you never know who's on our event here that might be family. So I'm always very cautious. Boats hitting fixed objects like jetties and docks, but also pilings and poles and channel markers. And out of respect for Carter, instead of trying to put a human photo of boat propellers versus persons, this is a manatee type hits. So from boat propellers. Let me talk a little bit short time about the Palm Beach County trauma system. We utilize a Trauma One database, just like Broward County's trauma system uses Trauma One, and that's how we get our specific data. Our data is not necessarily going to mix with FWCs, which won't be the same as a Coast Guard, but this is what we see at our 2 trauma centers. The year of complete year 2019 and 2020 to December, we had those full 2 years gave us about, I think, 31 water-related traumatic injury patients that ended up at a trauma center. This isn't drownings. This is where they had a traumatic injury where they had a benefit from the care at the trauma centers. I broke it down by ages. 16 to 64 had 86% of our trauma patients within that category were traumatically injured. 7% for 0 to 15, our pediatric volume, and the same with our seasoned citizens, our 65 and above, 7%. 13 of our crashes in Palm Beach County that ended up at a trauma center had something to do with a jet ski. 12 of them had some boat-related stuff. We had 2 persons struck. Actually, when I was hand counting, we had 3. Really, actually 4. So we had some in the other categories that were miscalculated, basically. 3 of our patients, over the 4,000 plus patients between the 2 trauma centers, well, yeah, with those years, and 31 being water related. 3 of them were injuries from propellers. 1 bather was struck by a boat. We had 1 that was a inflatable raft injury, 1 fire on a boat that generated a burn. So jet skis seem to be the challenge. The biggest thing is know what your risks are in your area and what you can do about it. You need to change some behavior to help prevent some injuries. So there's a lot of things out there that you can help make the waterways safer by advocating within your specified profession. One is that anyone born after January 1st, 1988 is required to have a boating safety course. If you're younger than that, then you're grandfathered in, but it's strongly encouraged that everyone at any time in their life go and get the certification. And there's a whole bunch of different vendors out there or groups that provide this boating course, anywhere from free up to $40, $50, $60. We have professionals, the U.S. Coast Guard. Actually, I went to their station and worked with them, reviewing their medical equipment that they keep on the boat. It turns out there's not a whole lot of medical-oriented people on Coast Guard. They are search and rescue. They're not medically inclined. So if they have a severely injured person, they might have somebody with an EMT level level of education, medical education on the vessel. And the biggest thing to their advantage is they can go fast. And they call ahead for Palm Beach's Riviera Beach Fire Rescue, meets them at the coast and takes them in from there. I provided additional training for them. You can do the same thing in your area, is to make sure that the people that are intervening with potential injured patients, if you're medically oriented, that you can teach them. We do something called Stop the Bleed, and I know Broward County is hot on the trail for that also, doing amazing work. But I'm targeting anything and everything. The bottom right-hand picture is the Coast Guard Auxiliary. They're all trained in Stop the Bleed using direct pressure dressings and packing wounds and tourniquets. I do private citizens, medical academy kids, because those are our future that we have, and they're future boaters too. So look around to see what kind of boat clubs. Here in Palm Beach County, we have 7 different boat clubs, and I know there's a boatload of boat clubs down in Broward County. But to see what you can do about being a guest speaker at one of your local boat clubs about boating safety, because private people like me, I belong to Freedom Boat Club. We can do presentations at any of them. There's a lot of jet ski rental areas, and again, jet skis is a problem. So doing something special for those are different, because those are usually walk-up renters. But being able to talk with them about safety and encourage them to encourage their, one-time jet ski renters to be as safe as possible, give them information, things like that. And of course, the airboat industry, again, it looks overall pretty safe. Walk-up boat ramps. Pick a Saturday and pass out pamphlets for propeller injuries awareness, or speed kills, or whatever the case may be. Know what your issues are in your area, and you can capture a lot of people at the boat ramps. If they're going out, they're a little distracted. If they're coming back, sometimes, their day is over, but they'll be going out on their boat again. So they might be able to digest it. We've looked into this here in Palm Beach County, and I can't remember if we made any headway, but I think it's U.S. Towboat has borrow life jacket loaner stations, and that's a national type thing that we've looked into doing here for people that might be 1 or 2 PFD short. Also, snorkelers and working with dive shops about some boater safety stuff, injury prevention stuff if you're medically inclined, offering things like that, and being sure that boaters are aware of the rules. Number one, of having a dive flag visible, and if you're the one snorkeling or diving, but also other boaters, pleasure boaters, it could be boat club people or jet skiers, whatever the case may be, that they do have an extra sense that flag is up. That means divers or snorkelers are down. So I like to stop sharing, but hand over to Carter, and he'll give a little more information, and then we'll field some questions.
Thank you,
at
David.
the end.
So again, my name is Carter Viss. I came down here to Florida for college about 8 years ago. I pretty much my whole life, I've always been fascinated by the ocean and all the life that's in it. And as soon as I got down here to Florida, I immediately fell in love with snorkeling as well as fishing just all over the area. And especially the first place I went out snorkeling was the Breakers Reef. And that place, I fell in love with that immediately. And I've been there hundreds and hundreds of times. And the most recent time I was there was Thanksgiving Day of 2019. And it was absolutely a beautiful day. Pretty much no waves at all, no wind. Sky was completely blue. And I went out with a friend, my coworker at Loggerhead Marine Life Center. We went out, which we've gone out snorkeling, dozens of times together, and always have a dive flag with me. And we follow all the rules we can. We're out there. And near the end of that dive trip, I started heading back to the beach. I think I was about 150 yards off the beach at that point, because the reef off the breakers runs parallel to the beach. So what we do, we normally start out kind of right at the Breakers Hotel, and then the current takes us north about a mile or so, 3/4 of a mile, where I have my stuff on the beach. And I swim back to the beach and get my stuff and head out. So as soon as I started swimming back to the beach, that's when I noticed a large boat coming straight towards me at a very fast speed. There were a lot of boats out in the water that day because it was a holiday, and you constantly hear the whir of boats around you. And I heard this one especially close, looked up to my north and saw it heading straight towards me. So I had a couple seconds to react to it. I immediately knew, like, if this hits any of my torso or back or head, I would be gone in an instant, pretty much. So I managed to kind of tilt to my side, get myself as far away from it as possible, and I had all my limbs facing towards the boat just to keep my back and my torso away from it. And then the boat hit me, and I barely remember the impact. I just remember it was very fast. And the aftermath, though, I remember very clearly. First thing I remember is that my right arm was gone. I noticed it actually on the reef about 15 feet down. And then unable to process the shock of that, I noticed both my legs were severely cut open and pretty much dangling. And I didn't even know at the time, but this wrist was also cut and broken kind of right there. And it was a pretty horrible situation. I noticed there was blood all over me. I couldn't swim anymore. I started sinking down, and I thought that was it. And thankfully, my friend who was with me managed to get to me as fast as he could and grabbed me and was holding me up. And another fortunate thing, is that the boat that hit me noticed and stopped right away and started approaching me to pick me up. And Andy, my coworker, was holding me, swimming towards the boat. And then another very fortunate thing, a diver was out there on her paddleboard as well. And she actually just learned how to tie a tourniquet. So when I got to the the back of the boat. They got me onto the boat. They had a first aid kit, and she immediately tied a tourniquet around my arm, which no doubt saved my life because I was extremely close to bleeding out at that point. I believe they also tied two around both my legs as well. And they brought me to the beach. Ambulance was already waiting on the beach. That's something that's just remarkable about this whole scenario was that from the moment I was hit to when I got into the ambulance, it was about eight-ish minutes, which is amazing. I mean, everything in that scenario worked out perfectly. If any one of those details didn't work out, I wouldn't be here. I was extremely close, especially to blood loss and shock, just to dying. So it was extremely. I mean, as horrible as the scenario was, everything worked out in that sense. And then I was immediately brought to St. Mary's Hospital, where I underwent several surgeries. They managed to save both my legs. They were a little bit doubtful if I was to ever walk again, or if my legs would ever function normally again. And they also fixed up this wrist and did what they could with this arm, but it was already sealed when this arm was immediately cut off. So fortunately, I do have all my other limbs. I spent over 2 months in the hospital initially there. I had to relearn how to stand, walk, pretty much do everything. It was a big challenge, but it was, just extremely, all the great nurses I met, great doctors, great people in general I met through it was pretty remarkable. And here I am now. I'm actually working back at Loggerhead Marine Life Center again, primarily with their aquariums. That's kind of what I always wanted to do, is work with aquariums. So I'm back doing that, living on my own again. I underwent a few more surgeries to fight either infected hardware or fix up some nerve damage that was in my legs. But that surgery was back about a year ago, so I haven't been in surgery for a year now. And I'm going back to the gym again, starting to run, and really just trying to get back to my normal life. I've been snorkeling a few times since this happened, but I haven't been back to the Breakers Reef. I hope one day to go back there, as soon as I really feel safe, which brings me to some of my the changes I want to make with these laws. So the driver of the boat, him and his family were very remorseful through this whole process and really wanted just to help any way they could. And it can be hard to overcome kind of that, especially after all this happens to you, to even talk to them or do anything with them. But really, I want the best outcome to come out of this, the most positive outcome to come. So we reached a plea deal where the driver is going to help write senators and kind of legislate and really just help me out make changes. So the first change I really like to see is with die flag regulations as far as size and visibility. So one of the first changes would be to add a reflective strip like you would have on a construction vest or something onto the flag itself. So say even if it's like early morning, night, or evening, the boat has some kind of lights on, and if someone has a spotlight out front, they can easily see if there's a die flag anywhere nearby. Another thing would be to make it more of a 3D model than a 2D model. So as of now, the die flag is a rectangular, just normal flag with the metal horizontal piece in to keep it straight. One of our ideas was to change it to more of like a flotation device, kind of like in the same sense as like a safety sausage when you're scuba diving, something similar to that. And we want to make it really affordable too, so a lot of people will be encouraged to buy them. And I really just want to also just advocate for the use of dive flags too. I know some people just don't think it's, they don't think it will happen to them. They don't think it's really a necessity, especially like tourists when they come here or something and they go out snorkeling. But one of my goals is to just really get the message across about their importance and advocate for them as much as possible. So at the moment, that's kind of what me and the driver are working on the most. We've got a few senators to support us so far, but the overall process, it's going to be a while, but we're still working on it. And then the second thing is more directed towards boating speed regulations. So the boat that hit me, it's about a 36-foot boat. It was going, the GPS tracked it going around 50 miles an hour when it was in the area that it hit me. And I was only about 150 yards off the beach. So I think this is, disturbingly close to the beach for a boat to be going this fast. So one of my main goals with that is to create some kind of law or regulation where if you're less than 1,000 feet from the beach and on a boat, especially cruising parallel to the beach, you have to be going at a slow speed. So your bow is level with the water. It's not tilting up, and also you can easily stop or turn away if you see a diver in the way, or also a sea turtle or manatee. So at Loggerhead, working there for about 4 years now, I've seen extremely brutal boat strikes from all species of sea turtles and manatees. And a lot of these boat strikes do happen close to the beach, especially during sea turtle nesting season, because a lot of the sea turtle mothers rest on the nearshore reefs during the day, because they go up and nest at night. So that's one thing that I think would really turn down the rate of boat strikes for animals, as well as make nearshore reefs like the Breakers Reef a much safer place for divers. So a takeaway thing about this would be to, if you're on a boat and cruising parallel to the beach or near the beach, I like to just think of, say, the Juno Beach Pier. That's about 990 feet. And if you think, or really any fishing pier in South Florida, they're all around 900 or so feet. If you think you're going to where you're in line with that pier, as far as distance from the beach, I would say just go out further. I mean, there's a ton of ocean out there. You don't really have to be that close. And so I would just think about the Juno Beach Pier whenever you're cruising in the water, and to see if you're close to the beach or not. And that's kind of the first step I want to take. Obviously, I want to make this a law so that if someone's speeding really close to the beach, say a Coast Guard or any police boat has the right to pull them over and either give them a ticket or something like that. So those are the two main subjects I want to change because of this accident. And my overall goal from this is to just have only positive outcomes. This whole the incident itself has just been a extremely rough experience, and I really want to just see good things come out of it, because I really believe that there's a lot of room for change in our maritime laws here. So that's pretty much the gist of my story. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Me or David would be more than willing to answer them.
So Carter, the 1,000-foot mark is difficult to image when you're in it with no other fixed objects. So giving the comparison of the pier for myself is extremely helpful.
Yeah, and that's, it's a good start of where, obviously it's going to be hard to know if you're 900 feet or 1,100 feet away from the beach. But if you got a hunch that hey, maybe I'm too close, maybe I'm level with this pier right now. It's as simple as just going further out, and that could have prevented my accident at least.
The fact of the female diver who was on her stand-up paddleboard, that she knew about Stop the Bleed gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling, since we work so hard on educating the public in that technique. So I would encourage anybody that if you're part of an organization within Palm Beach or Broward County and you'd like to learn Stop the Bleed for your office, because we do a lot with focus on shootings and bomb blasts, but like what's part of the presentation, propellers and alligator bites and hurricane shutters and car crashes give us more bleeding extremities than necessarily the gunshots and any blasts that might occur. So if you're interested in having the course to your place, give me an email. I'm going to put it in the chat. And if it's in Broward County, I'll forward it on to my peoples and partners and friends down there.
Yeah, and I'm living proof of how much just a tourniquet can save a life, because I was just on the brink of bleeding out, really. And the fact that she was there and she knew exactly what to do was an absolute game changer there. So, and I see a question. What is the possibility of more permanent 1,000-foot markers, like the swimming buoys, without damaging the reef? So, yeah, that is definitely ideal. If they could marker off a lot of, around 1,000 feet like that, hopefully for the Breakers Reef area, I was snorkeling and they do have mooring buoys there attached to the reef right now. So I would say in areas that are very highly snorkeled or just recreational swimmers or whatever, I would really push to have 1,000-foot markers around those areas too. As far as, the whole ocean, as far as all around the coast of Florida, I find that, it would maybe every mile or so have 1,000-foot marker or something like that, but it would be really helpful to have those out there. Let's see. So as far as this next question, are there any companies beginning to make new diving vests and flags? Not that I know of at the moment. I was at a dive shop about a week ago, and I noticed they do have a lot of the flag, the same type I had out there, just the small buoy with the flag on top available. And then they did have another inflatable, kind of larger buoy. But that, the other one was $30, just the normal buoy and the dive flag, and the other one was $250 for the inflatable one. So there's really not a financially reasonable one that could be comparable to the model I had that day yet. So one of my main goals is to make it about as expensive as just the basic dive buoy and the flag. So that's kind of, and I don't really have too much experience in designing any type of dive material, anything like that, but I am looking for really good tips on how to design something that's affordable and very visible and effective. So if anyone has any good connections with that, that would be very helpful at this time.
Carter, you bring up a good point. And part of the efforts for reducing injury, if it's something motorcycle related, I show up at the motorcycle sales places and things like that. So within your the listening audience here, within your geographical area, if it's something that you pick it up as part of your crusades for reducing water-related injuries, you could go into a dive shop or a West Marine and see what kind of selections they have, and then talk to management and encourage them to pick it up as a safety concern and have more product with more variety within their shop. They're going to carry almost every different design of a mask and a snorkel and fins and lobster measures and things like that. But it's part of their responsibility also to educate the public that are coming in there. Hey, you're buying all this stuff. Do you have a dive flag? How many injuries do we have a year from boat strikes and for people and I just so happen to have a selection over here in the shop. So that's a lot of the ways that I change behavior within our county is encouraging the retailers to pick it up as a concern and to have more product, whether it's a motorcycle jacket or helmet or boots or gloves or the next thing I'm probably going to attack is dive flags to make sure that they have a selection for people of all speeds. We do get a fair amount of tourists that come here. And that's, they come and they buy some stuff to fly at home and maybe use it again on the next visit to Florida. But at the same time, I think it's their obligation, the moral obligation for those shops to educate the people. By law, you need to have a dive flag and a snorkel flag, and here you go. I have all these different products here, and some of them can be affordable. So.
Yeah, definitely. And the more also kind of versatile I can make it, like say, if it's an inflatable device, if it has some pockets to either put lobster or any kind of like supplies in, it can become, a multifunctional piece that you wouldn't like. It's not just a safety device, but it's also, a container to put anything in. So I want to try to make something that has multi-purposes to really encourage divers to use them more. Because what I get a lot with especially people new to snorkeling is they just don't really want something tied and just gooey to them with, they believe, isn't an important purpose, but it's an essential purpose. But it can be a big kind of just turn off for some tourists to have a dive flag attached to them. So I really want to try to motivate people to use them more as well. And dive shops are really the place to start with that. And that's kind of one of my biggest campaigns now is to visit dive shops, see their selection, and kind of start, as David said, talking to them about offering more selection, as well as try to design, something that could be really useful based off what they have already.
Do we have any other questions out there? Joe Duffy, I know you're good for at least one question.
Oh, here's one. I'm not sure about the ecology of reefs, but is the high rate of speed around reefs damaging? So as far as I know, it would only be damaged. The sound of boats can stress out a lot of animals. So if you have small fish on the reef or turtles, dolphins, manatees, the constant sound of the boats going by at fast speed can cause some stress for reef animals. But it would mainly, I guess, if the reef's really shallow and the boat hits the reef, then yes, that's damaging. But as far as any animal that would surface, like a sea turtle or manatee, they're the largest risk as far as the reef, overall health of the reef is concerned. Anything else?
So I think we stated our piece.
Yeah, I thank you all for listening in and watching.
So I believe that if nothing else, we'll end the session. And again, my email address is in the chat. We'll give it another moment or two and let people hop off. But if you need to,
I'll put my email in the chat as
Perfect.
well, so you can contact me with any other questions you might think of.
You never know though.
Advice. I'm all open to any advice you guys might have.
Someone had mentioned in the chat about it might be a good entrepreneurial opportunity for you. So maybe there's even a opportunital financer in the group. You never know.
For sure.
So, Carter, I applaud you for your perseverance. I'm very happy that the trauma system worked for you.
And yes, I owe my life to the trauma system at St. Mary's. They're an amazing group there.
And actually, the trauma system started with the first tourniquet, the first bandage applied. So the fact that through the 911 dispatchers that have fire rescue be able to locate you, whoever called, and then fire rescue to be available to take you from the hands of your water rescuers that saved your life, truly saved your life. And all the way through to the trauma system and your post-trauma care. So, but from that horrible incident, you are moving in an amazing direction. So we applaud you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a life-changing experience, and every person was in the right place at the right time. And again, I just hope to make a lot of great changes out of this and impact as many people in positive ways as possible.
So for our participants coming from a very heavy trauma background and injury prevention, but also have dabbed into stroke, whether your main concentration is in prevention of drowning or prevention of injury or any other water-related aspect, I encourage you to know your numbers to give you a little more better idea of what the issue is around you. Know that each database will give you a different set of numbers because of different filters and how it's entered and what their motive is, whether it's a law enforcement perspective or a medical perspective. So with that, just sort of have an idea when you're talking with people to share with them. We don't hear a lot about boating incidences, whether accidents, crashes, injuries, because usually by the time it happens and the media hear about it, things have resolved. As compared to a pile up on the interstate where it takes a while for a tow truck to come and hook them and get them out of the way, which has a greater flash for the media. They're able to, get some video footage of gnarled cars and things like that. So, so the issues that we have on our water are out there. So I would encourage you to, again, do some research, whether it's going to floridacharts.org or gov or com, I'm not sure which, but mainly that gives hospital admissions. There's an amazing amount of databases out there that can give you the numbers that you need for your cause. If you need further data, contact me. Send me an email and I'll walk you through on how to access that stuff. So I think without anything else, we'll call it a day. Reach out to Carter, reach out to myself, and everyone make an effort to make a difference, because if everyone's doing something, we're going to make forward motion in reducing injuries and taking care of the people around us. So we thank you very much.
Definitely. Yes. Thank you again.